Today you'll see a really cool classic skirt with lots of details, really fun to sew, and I'll be sharing tips with you about saving fabric, about curved waistbands, even hammering a jeans button is included. Staple garment, brown linen, lots of sewing to see in this one, so stay with me. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I'm coming to you from very early morning in my backyard. It's a beautiful day and I'm very excited to share the skirt I have to show you. It has been a real joy to sew. This Monday I've shown you a video about the Glissando pattern from Love Notions. It's a new pattern, new release, and in that opportunity I went through the whole pattern, talked about the 3 options offered there, the pants, the shorts, the skirt, like a pattern review, sizing, fabric, all of that. And in that one I focused on the 2 pants I made. I had originally thought of just including the skirt in there as well, but it was just going to be way too long. So I decided to make a separate video about the skirt, and this is what I'm doing now. I mentioned before that the options in this pattern all share the same common features, which is a curved waistband that hits at the waist. They are fitted through the waist and hips. They have curved pockets on the front, very classic jean style. And at the back they have patch pockets. Then comes the difference whether it's a pant or a short or a skirt. But at the top, when you look at these garments, they look the same. So I've already shown you my crazy print linen glissando pants that I've made even shorter, like capri length. Love those. And I've shown you my brown pair that I made in the original cropped length. These are designed to be cropped, but you can always lengthen them. The pant leg is straight, and you can definitely just lengthen at the hem because there's no shape to true in. Like, it doesn't taper in or flare out. You can definitely just lengthen if you want it full length. So that's an option. When I showed you my pants, I've shown you them. These are the pants, by the way, but you would think this is a skirt because they look the same. I mentioned I had saved fabric by cutting the inner waistband out of a contrast cotton, and I had cut the pocket bag, which is a pretty large piece, out of a contrast cotton too. And I mentioned that I had some tricks to save fabric. Well, that is the only way I was able to make these pants and the skirt out of 2 meters of linen fabric. And this fabric is valuable to me. I want to make the most of it. And when I was laying out all my pieces, really hoping I could get the 2 garments, it was clear to me that it was impossible if I wanted to do everything correctly. So basically that meant cutting the pocket bag out of the brown linen. They are quite big, and if you're trying to get 2 garments out of the fabric, takes up space. Same as the curved waistband, you're cutting the pieces twice. So when I was cutting the pants, I decided to leave those pattern pieces aside, just focus on getting, 1 waistband piece, the outer waistbands, get 2 of those. And I left the pocket bag aside thinking, maybe it's going to work, and it did. So I was able to cut the main pieces, everything that you have to see, out of the linen except the pocket bag and the inner waistbands, and that gave me a skirt and a pant with nothing left. Like, you should see the scraps, it's ridiculous. These types of things make me really happy. I want to always make the most of the fabric I have, and if that means doing other fabrics inside where no one can see to make that work, I'm all for it. So because I don't want to repeat everything I said in the previous video about the Glissando pants, I'm not doing a full pattern review here. If you want to know more details about the pattern, go ahead and watch the Glissando video that's here on Monday where I show the pants. This one is about the skirt. As I mentioned, the skirt on the top area looks the same as the pants because they have the same features. Other than that, the skirt is straight down visually, but on the pattern it does taper in a little bit, and it's a functional thing. If you make the pattern go straight down when you wear it, it's going to look slightly A-lined. So if you wanted to make this skirt longer or shorter, you would need to do that in an area below the hip and above the hem, because on the side you'll see that the hem does have a shape because it does need to be trued that way, and the depth of this hem is 2 inches. On the finished garment measurements, there is a finished length there for each size, and I've chosen a straight size 16. I looked at that measurement and I knew that it was going to be exactly above my knee where I want it to be. So if you are sewing a size 16 and you are shorter than me, shorter than 5'8", it might end up being too long for you. So check those things first so you can adjust the hems first. Better yet, make a muslin to see how everything fits. So yeah, make a muslin. I didn't do a muslin in this opportunity. I'm very experienced at skirt making and I can take really good flat measurements of a pattern to know if it's going to fit me. So I did that. I drew my seam allowances, measured everything. I knew the hips were right, the height between the waist and the hips, all those things were okay, so I skipped the muslin. But you can do one if you want to. If you're not that experienced in fitting skirts to yourself, that will definitely help you for sure. So the Glissando pattern is still on its release week. It ends Monday night, so it's still 25% off, and you can get all these 3 styles in the same pattern. If you want to get it for yourself, you're welcome to use my affiliate link. It doesn't cost you any extra, and when you purchase through there, I make a small commission that supports me. So I thank you so much if you use it. So I'm going to show you how to modify this pocket bag so that you still have this little area being out of the main fabric. These are the pants, you know, because inside you just have this cotton there. If you just cut it out, you would see all this contrast cotton there if you didn't do an extra step, which is super easy. I'm going to be showing you tips on the curved waistband just to clear some confusion. I know a lot of people get confused with curved waistbands, and there's a variety of things for you to see, like concave darts, top stitching tips, even hammering in a button. So it's fun for you to see, so let's hop into there. You can see the front skirt. So this is the center where the zipper would be, and that is the pocket opening, that curve. And then we have 2 pieces for the pockets. The one that has already that cut out is the lining, and this is the one that I like to cut out of very lightweight fabric, lightweight woven. That's the one that goes on there. Then the pocket bag is meant to be cut out with the same fabric as you're using in the main, and this will go behind and complete that hip area right there. So when you put your hand in, you have the same fabric there. Now I have placed my pocket bag behind there, aligned everything at the waist and the hips and everything. And you can see I've marked with green that area that should be of the main fabric because it will be seen. It's not that I can just do this with another fabric, unless you want to have that area with another fabric, which is not a look I would want to go for this type of skirt. So I have my pocket bag there with the mark. That's the amount I know is going to be seen when I put my hand in and it completes the hip. I'm going to go ahead and mark a lower line than this, about 1 inch down from here. So I'll just draw that there. This is freehand. So basically I want to cut out a piece that's that big out of the main fabric. Just that piece there. I know it will be big enough to be under the opening there. So I'll cut a whole piece out of a contrast fabric, a cotton, anything that's even lighter weight than your main is ideal. And then I'll just cut this little piece out of the main fabric and sew it on there. This is how lots of jean pockets are done. If you have some jeans and you look inside, you're going to see that there's denim there on the top, and then the rest is just made out of cotton. So that's what I'm going to do. So I have my 2 pocket pieces cut out of fabric. This is the lining, and I'll take that paper away. You can see my lightweight blue satin fabric that I'm going to use for the linings, very lightweight. And now this is the pocket bag that I said I was going to cut a contrast fabric following that shape. So this is where the pocket entrance shape is, and this is just lower than that. So I just put this on fabric, used a tracing wheel to cut this exact size, and that is what I have here with my brown linen fabric, which is the main fabric. And I did the exact same thing for my pants because I want the pretty side of my cotton to be seen on the inside of the skirts where all the tigers and lions are. I'm going to go and sew this brown piece of main fabric onto the wrong side of my pocket bags. So what I'm going to do is serge the edge there, put it on top of the fabric and sew it down there on the edge, and I can just forget about it. I can construct my pocket as normal. And you know, my pant actually will be higher than this, around there. And when you look at the skirt, you'll see brown there on the hip. Although when you put your hand inside, you're going to put it inside to the wrong side of this fabric. And on the inside of the skirt, it's going to look like that. So this is a tip where you can use this little piece of scrap that you can get from anywhere of your fabric instead of using this big piece out of your main fabric. And it works really well, and you can get things with less fabric. I have also saved fabric by cutting the inner waistband out of the same cotton I'm using for the pockets, and this is the exact same thing I did for my brown glissandos. So it's the same thing. The outer waistband is the one that's interfaced, and that's why you can see black there. And you know your pattern piece has a mark that says grain line. That is supposed to be the center, because the center of the waistband will be on the grain line. This curves out like that, and then this edge would not be on the grain line, and that's what gets sewn onto there. So, you know, before sewing, I like to just assemble things roughly so that I don't have to waste time like at the sewing machine trying to figure out what goes where. If you remove the pattern pieces, mark what is what. This is left, this is right. Just put a pin there. Do the same with this. Then just sewing becomes much more efficient, and you don't need to worry that you're being confused or that you're doing the wrong thing. This is just cotton selvage, and this is what I'm going to use to stabilize the top of the waistband. You can see how much this waistband curves like that. When you wear it, put it up and down, you know, it will get stretched. So stabilizing it that way on the top will just make sure that your pants keep the structure and the shape. Here are the pattern pieces for the skirt. It's very simple. The back patch pockets, the two pieces for the fly facing, the extension. This is the front, this is the back. Now, one thing I've done different for the back is that I want to have a center back seam just for looks. I like the look of a center back seam that's top stitched. So I placed my pattern piece a bit out of the edge of the actual fold of the fabric instead of on the fold. It's basically 3/8 of an inch beyond the fold. And I'm going to do a stitching line there just to have a center back seam. This is folded, so it's really good because it means that the edge is finished. I won't need to serge it or anything. And then when I sew my skirt, I'm going to push the seam allowance to the left and top stitch that down double. I think it will make it look more like a denim type skirt that way, and I like that, so why not? I was working with super limited fabric. As you know, I also cut a pair of pants from this piece of fabric. And so for the center front, I went right up to the selvage there. But the seam allowance is 1/2 inch, so the seam I need there to do my zipper and to carry on doing this center front seam will hide that selvage. Now I have still to interface the top edges here with those little long strips of interfacing to stabilize the waistline. Do that there on both of these. I'll sew that dart and then stabilize the top of the back as well. That is something that I'm not willing to skip. Especially with linen, this type of fabric does want to stretch out while you're sewing, and then it's not going to fit the waistband, so I'd rather prevent. This is that extra center back seam that I want to add just for looks, so I've sewn that. I've pinned this little dart similarly to the way I sew bust darts, because the side of the bust is like a rounded area, at least for my body. Same as at the back, I don't go flat there, it is a little bit rounded. So I would like to do some concave darts on the back too, which just means I'll start at the tip. I'll still follow the width here on the top and everything, but I'll give it a slight curve right there, just to give me that little bit extra space right there and to just make it more anatomic. So I'll sew it and then I'll show you on the other side, because I put purple thread on the bobbin so you can actually see the seam line. I think depending on the body shape, a concave dart on the back can also help get a nicer look and fit on the darts at the back. So I like to sew from the dart point and actually fret really well to where I want that needle to go in, right on the edge, and then I'll start. So I'll keep it right on the edge for a little bit and just slightly curve this shape out like that and not sew it completely straight, you know. Once I'm past like the first third of the dart, then I'll just retake the same shape. You can see the seam line there doesn't go straight down, it has a slight curve. It's just the slightest little curve right there, you know, like the first third that I'm sewing, and then it just goes straight up like that, and it does make a difference to the way this looks on the back, and it's just taking that rounded shape that your bottom has on the back side. So I think it's a good idea to try that. If you find that if you sew that straight, you get like little dimples there and things like that. Now that I've got that sewn and the center back, I'm just going to go carefully and stabilize this waistline. I have loads of this cut out already. It's just fusible interfacing that does not stretch, so when that goes there, it replaces stay stitching and it's so much better. So these are only narrow, and you know, they aren't biased or anything, they cut normal because they need to be to keep the structure. So because they are narrow, they will go over the curve if you just sort of fuse them along the edge of this pocket curve. It's not an issue. And now I'll just fuse the rest of the waist up here. And then I'll flip to the other side and do the other side. I keep them together so that I can see that I'm not distorting them in any way. So, you know, you could buy fusible stay tape, but I can't find that, and, you know, I don't really see the point when you can just cut your own out of your normal interfacing. It's so much cheaper. And I always just keep a lot of this around because I'm using it to stabilize shoulders, all sorts, necklines, so very handy. This is one of the pocket bags. You can see that I've got my main fabric there on top. This is the hip there, that is the waistline. I have gone ahead and stabilized the top of this piece because it is part of the waist. I don't want it to stretch out. And I've always kept it pinned here so that I don't get confused, you know, which one goes where. I am going to sew this onto the wrong side of the pocket bag so that the right side is what you see inside and it looks pretty. I'm going to go ahead and serge this curve right there. So that curve is all you need to serge. You don't need to worry about the top because it's going to be caught inside the waistband, and on this side it's going to be caught in the side seam. So this is the only thing that needs to be finished at this point. I am going to pin this all the way around and sew it all the way around so it's not flapping about. So basically this brown piece will just become part of this pocket piece, and I'm going to sew this all the way around. So that's been sewn on this side. You're going to see that curved little seam right there, and that's all you're going to see inside your skirt when you put it on. So it doesn't really make an impact really, and it just makes you save so much fabric. So do the same on the other side and forget about it. The pocket opening on the skirt is up higher, so it's not like you're ever going to see that. These are the two pockets on the inside. This is the right side. That's the one that has the pocket reach all the way to the center, so that's all been serged there together. On the left side is where you had to trim away 1.5 inches from the center because the facing is going to be there, and so it's less bulky. This is how this technique looks on the inside. You can see the lovely lions and tigers and everything, the right side of the fabric there. That is the seam that you see there. That was the one that sewed that little brown piece on. And on this side, you see it normal. It's got the main fabric there. You put your hand in, and in there is the other fabric and the piece that was sewn on. Same lining. So that's the only difference. You can do it super easily. To prevent this from flapping around and keep it in place, I just did a basting stitch there. Really long stitch length that I can remove later on. Having the center front serged separately is the same thing I did to the pants to start putting together the zipper. The zipper that I'm going to sew on now will be done in exactly the same way as I showed with the pants, and I've serged the center front already, so that's ready, so nothing different is going to be done now. To do the top stitching that goes right on the edge, I've just moved my needle to the left. In my sewing machine, that just means number 1. It could be different for you. I use this presser foot that has a G on it, and if I move the needle to the left, it will go into there, and that metal thing will guide along the seam. So this is what I use to sew on the edge super neatly. After doing this top stitching on the edge, I use a 1/4 inch foot and change my needle back to the centered position and sew normal, and that gets me the second row that's parallel. I also increase the stitch length to 3.5 so that you can see the top stitching, so they're not so tiny. These are the ones I've done on the dart, and that's how 3.5 looks. I think it looks super nice. So that is the completed bag, super easy. That center seam is not in the original pattern, so if you decide not to do it, it's even easier. Put my patch pockets on, top stitched, and I also have a completed front zipper, pockets, the top stitching done on the center front seam also. So super easy, just throw them onto each other, right sides together. Sew the side seams and then the waistband. These are the two waistband pieces. I have sewn them there on the side seams This is the left side, the other side is the right, and I have written there on the edges left, left, right and right, so I know I've got everything correct. They are different pieces because they have different lengths, and it's got to do with the fly, so that's why you need to have the left on the left and the right on the right. You can't confuse that. But I've got them right sides together. I've got the cotton there on top. This is the lining, and I've run a guide stitch on the edge and folded that up. The bottom there is the main waistband, the one that's interfaced. You can see that I've got a strip of cotton selvage sort of pinned it together there, and the selvage is a little below that raw edge there. So when I sew this together at 1/2 inch seam allowance, the selvage is going to get caught in there and it will just be part of the seam. When this gets flipped inside, no one's going to see it because it's going to be on the inside, and it would make this curved waistband stable on the top and not stretch out on the form. When you see a shape like this in a waistband, always look on the top edge, sew that together first, flip it, and the bottom edge is the one that gets sewn onto the pants. Here you can see a waistband that is already ready to be sewn onto the skirt. I've sewn it all in there, the selvage is there. I trimmed the seam allowance to 1/4 inch, snipped in there, and then because I have a lining and it's going to be seen, if I don't understitch, I've done that too. I swapped my thread to beige so it looks better with this print under there. So when you fold this in, this ensures that the lining is going to be inside, and on the outside all you'll see is the brown. You have your waistband that way, and this is the way that you align it onto the edge of the skirt, and it just looks totally wrong, but it is totally correct. So you find the center back here of the waistband, match it up to the center back of the skirt, and you keep pinning along until you get to the centers there where the zip is. Now I need to sort out the center here, trim off my zipper, and just straighten this out because I have excess zipper tape there that I have to trim away. So you don't get confused, just remember you have your pants or your skirt, and your completed waistband has to have this shape like that, going down like that, like a little mountain. And you have the right side of the waistband, the main waistband that's interfaced, right sides together with the garment. Here I have my waistband. You can see it's being hand basted. It's going to be so much easier to top stitch. On this side, the inner waistband is just covering that seam, just covering it like a tad over it. And when I was hand basting, I made sure that I was catching everything when I sew. I'm not going to have any area that is not going to be sewn down as well. I've got beige bobbin thread and the top stitching thread on the top. I've got that foot that allows me to sew on the edge super easily, and I'm also using a 3.5 stitch length, and it's just like sewing a rectangle all along the top, pivoting here on the centers and then following along until I get to the other side.
Don't you think this is starting to wear on me? You've been rated down like hell. I'm weak. I have tried to give you my soul, but you can't love something you own. It's too late to repair what we made.
I'm on the floor here right below where I sew, so you're gonna see a lot of like threads happening. I have my waistband there. I have done my buttonhole, and I've poked a pin through that to mark the place where my button should be in relation to that buttonhole, and I've got a little white mark there. And all I have here is a set that is called a rivet setter, just like a little metal base. It's got this thing that has like a sharp thing that makes a hole, and this that you use for like hammering in, like with the hammer. First you need to make the hole for the button to go through. I've got this metal base. I'm going to put it behind the mark that I have there, that white mark. Put it on the floor. Get this little thing that makes the hole. Put it on the mark and just hammer it. And this will make a hole in the fabric, a little tiny hole. And then this sharp thing that comes with each button can go through the fabric easily. So it went in there. Then I put this base back on the floor, align that there, and then I get my button that has that hole there and just put it right on top of that thing that's poking up. And now this is where I use this, put it on top of the button and hammer it down. And that's it. It's super secure there. There's no way to remove this. It's here forever. And that can go into the buttonhole, and that's it. Super easy. So if I just kept showing you this, you would think it's the pants because they are sort of like twins. Same fabric, they look the same on the top. They have the same contrast cotton inside. I did cut these out at the same time to make sure I was going to get the pants and the skirt, you know, out of the fabric. So they do look the same, but they aren't. There are differences. And on the front, you can see that I've done the zipper fly again because that's my preference and I like doing that. And I've top stitched it twice. You know, for the pants, I only did it once because it was my mood that day and I felt like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. For this one, I felt like doing it twice, and I think it just looks more cohesive with this center front that is also top stitched twice. I think you can really see the center front seam on a skirt, of course. The center front seam on a pant is the crotch curve and it's really short, so you can barely see it, you know. So that's why I didn't really fuss about those visual things. I do fuss about that stuff. I don't know if you've noticed. The pockets have been top stitched twice to keep it consistent. There you have that piece of linen that was cut out separately and sewn onto the pocket bag, because when you look inside, you have the cotton and you have the lightweight lining fabric there for the lining of the pocket. So that's that with the pocket. Super easy to do, and you will see this on a lot of jeans sewing patterns. If you have sewn jeans, if you have bought yourself jeans, just put your hand in your pocket and you'll see this feature there that the pocket bag is made out of a cotton or something and there's a piece of denim sewn on the hip area. Same thing we achieved here, but we just did it ourselves, you know. At the back, I also top stitched down the dart. I think it's a really nice detail for it to be seen, although I never tuck in so no one's going to see it. But when I look at my garment, I get the pleasure of seeing that it's really pretty. Patch pockets have been top stitched twice, and you saw that I did add a center back seam to this. It's not originally in the skirt. If you look at the liner, it's just no seam there, and you place your pattern piece on the fold. Adding a center back seam doesn't change the fit at all. It's just adding that extra little bit in the center that I sewed down, top stitched, and because there's no raw area there on the inside, it looks like it's a flat felled seam. It's a fake one. I mean, it's so easy. And I think visually, just having anything vertical running down at the back is something good. It's just a nice detail to have. And I can't imagine actually a skirt without a back seam, actually. I just can't imagine that, so I added one. I never top stitched the hem with a contrast color. This is just brown, and I think it looks nice. I don't think anything going around like that, the bottom of you, looks really nice to highlight, in my opinion. So that's why I don't do that. Here is the button that you saw how it was hammered in. It is super easy. You just need that little set to set in rivets. That little metal thing that makes the hole in the fabric can work for rivets, for buttons, you know. That was sent to me by a friend, Myra, from Rayon, the YouTube channel. She sent me that little thing, and it's been so amazing to have it because I've never been able to find those tools here. So I'm very happy and very grateful for that. The zipper in this case is black. I ran out of brown zippers with my pants, and the two linen pants had brown. So I hadn't realized I didn't have any more brown zippers. So it doesn't really matter because it's tucked in there. No one will see that it's black. You know, there's that little overlap that I talk about that I do when I put my zipper in. And so when you look at this, nothing's going to open up or gape or show that black zipper that it's there. It's just not a worry. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it red. I would keep it in the darker tones. I'm not going to lose sleep over not having the brown zipper there. Inside, this will look exactly like the pants did. I have the curved waistband, the contrast there. I have the full pocket there that is on the right side of the fabric, so it looks really pretty. And maybe you can see the seam there that's sewed on that linen piece on the other side. That's how it looks inside. I mentioned that I'd used the fabric up to the selvage here in the center front. No one's going to know. The selvage is serged. I got rid of all that fluffy bit on the selvage, top stitched it down, and it's within the seam allowance. So on the outside, it looks really neat. No one's going to know. And I'm always living on the edge. Literally, I'm placing pattern pieces right on the selvage if I can get away with it, because I know the seam allowance will sort of hide the fact, you know. At the back, maybe you see these little beige knots here and there. That's because when I top stitch pockets or any place that's visible really, I don't back stitch top stitching thread because it would look super bulky. So I just leave long threads, pull them through to the back, and I make little knots like that. That's why you can see that. They might look silly inside, but I would rather have the outside look super clean and super smooth without any back stitching in a color that's gonna pop, you know? Because why would you want to highlight your back stitching? I don't want to do that. In the previous video, I showed you how I reshaped and resized this linen top that I thrifted and added darts and everything. And I paired it in a few pictures with the pants. And I love the combination of colors, and I could do it with this one as well. So I have both options, and I love the purple, I love the brown together. I'm glad I have these to match this because I love it. I hope you're inspired to sew up this skirt. It is a really classic skirt, and you can make it in several types of fabric. If you want one for winter, you can make it out of corduroy, and you know, you can style this type of skirt so many ways. And I have so many ideas. If I had 3 clones, I would have come here and shown you 3 of these skirts. I want to transform the back to have a yoke. It's a really fun process to do, super easy, and that would just give it the really classic denim style look. So I could do that with the pants as well. So that's an idea I can't get out of my mind. The other one is doing a full front zipper, like a long zipper on the skirt. I can't get those thoughts out of my mind because this pattern just is a base, you know. There's so much that can be done here. Patch pockets on the front instead of the curved pockets like I did with the Allegro pants. I have that pattern piece and I could use it with this one, just adapting the shape of the hip a little bit. So many things. And I would like to show you 2 fabrics that I think would be great and that I had actually separated to make more skirts. I had to go back in the house to get them because I'd forgotten. Okay, the first one might seem super simple, but it's the best fabric for this, and it's super structured. It's a cotton twill, and it's in a military green. Maybe you can see the texture. So imagine the tan top stitching I've done here, just here. On a solid, I love the top stitching. It's amazing, and I would always do it. I can just see this one being a skirt like this. And I don't have a skirt that is this color at all, like nothing. This one I've been hoarding, and it was so beautiful when I saw it. It just blew me away. A tad on the expensive side. I have only a meter, but that's enough, because if I don't have enough, you know, I can make the inner waistband out of something else and the pocket bag too. So this is an embroidered chambray. It's gray, and look at that embroidery. The colors, the blue, the tans, the turquoise. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. So with this one, I would do really discreet top stitching probably. I would just let the fabric shine. It is a little bit lighter. I would definitely line this skirt. I like lining skirts when the main fabric is thinner. So this is appropriate, it is structured and everything. It's just thinner than what I would like. So lining comes always to the rescue. I love lining things, and I love lining skirts as well. So just picture this as a glissando skirt with a blue top. Oh my gosh, I love it. I can just see it. I have many more ideas, as I mentioned, and if I went to my stash, I would have many possibilities, even some stretch denim. In that case, when I use stretch denim, I would probably just resize the skirt to fit me, to have 0 ease at the hips. That's what I like with stretch garments. So in this case, I have about 2 inches of positive ease on the original skirt. To make it super easier, I would just take away from the side seams and then adjust the waistband. I would also cut the waistband not in the direction of the stretch of the denim. I would cut it cross grain so that the waistband doesn't stretch, because otherwise they'll just fall down. Glissando brown skirt with a red top. I always love the combination of brown and red, and I'm super happy to have this skirt now because I always wanted to pair these two. This is my modified harmony top with gathers here. So I love this. I really like how this looks. This top is not too long or too boxy. It has a little curved hem, so I'd be happy to wear it just like this. So I'll just do a half tuck. You know, I will never wear anything fully tucked in. But you can see the waistband, the button, the curved pockets there, and the fly zipper. Super neat. Top stitched it twice. And at the back, I did add a center back seam there because I just like them, and I did double row of top stitching and put my patch pockets. They have the same shape as the pants. I mean, it's the same pattern piece, The hemming, this one is deep. I think I did mine at 1.5. The pattern says 2, but I thought I was just gonna lose too much length there, so I think this is okay for me. There's no length modifications to the pattern. This is the original length, and it hits me above the knee right there. I also top stitch the front there with a double row of top stitching underneath the zipper. This is my refashioned top that I've shown in a previous video, the one I resized. It's made out of linen, tan color, goes perfect with this brown linen skirt. Love the combination, tan shoes. I think this combination of colors is sort of more toned down, but I also feel amazing in these tones, and solids, why not? Love it. This skirt is not super tight, you know, it doesn't hug your thighs, or it's not A-lined either. It's just perfect. I love this type of skirt. It means that you can wear it with a large variety of styles of tops. You know, you can wear something that's a little bit shorter and something longer as well. Not excessively tight at the hips. It's just right like that. Really like it. I apologize if I sound super hyped, but I'm actually super hyped up with this pattern. The Glissando is still on its release week. The sale ends on Monday night, and it's still 25% off if you want to give it a go. And you can make 1,000 garments with this pattern. It's super good value. If you want to give this pattern a go, I have a lot of resources in these videos to help you out with the construction and the fitting for the pants. So go ahead and try it if you want to. You can use my affiliate link, and that way I make a little commission that helps support what I do in this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon with more sewing. Bye!